Madan Sara is a network of women who goes from places to places to distribute goods around the country. They are primarily bringing food from the countryside to the big cities. Um, they are like the motor. They are the engine that run the economy. Haiti's economy is very informal, and Madan Sara is a big part of it. It's a big part of the sector.
So thank you so
Yes.
much, Mr. Etant Dupain, for being here with us. Now, before the pandemic, we in WHRB would invite guests like yourself to our studio here in Cambridge, Massachusetts, or we would actually call you directly from our studio. But because of the pandemic, our studio is currently remote. Basically, all of us working from our own personal rooms and homes. Now, to our listeners, Mr. Dupan is a journalist, filmmaker, and community organizer from Haiti who worked for 5 years on a film called Madan Sara that premiered here in the United States on November 21, 2020. And to our listeners, please check out our website, whrb.org, to learn more about Mr. Dupan's work, the film, that we will all include along with this interview. Now, before we begin talking about your film, Mr. Dupont, how are you doing today? Where are you currently at? And how has COVID-19 affected your family, and your personal work?
Thank you for having me. Thank you for this opportunity to talk to your audience. I am currently in Minneapolis. I was in Haiti uh, um, in the last few weeks, so I just um, get back to the state. COVID-19 is affecting everyone. Unfortunately, the pandemic is still doing damages all over the place. Um, yeah, I think I'm here. I'm surviving. So I think it's a good way to put it. Like every day, we're still around, so we have time to do better.
And we are so honored to have you here with us at Harvard Radio Broadcasting. Now, here in Boston, which is primarily our reach, we have a large Haitian community. And in fact, Boston is one of the top three destinations of Haitian immigrants to the United States. And Haitian Creole is considered one of the common spoken languages here in the Boston area. What message would you like to say to the Haitian community here in Boston? And please feel free to speak directly to them.
I hope they are staying safe from the pandemic. I hope they are getting vaccinated when they have a chance to do so. I hope they stay safe and getting involved in their communities and being more engaged to be part of the Boston family. Haitians, yeah, there's a lot of Haitian in Boston, and yeah, I lived in Boston for a little while. I hope everybody's staying safe and having a great weekend as we speak right now.
Now, going to your film, Madan Sara, which is about the story of Haitian women that are carrying the whole Haitian society. And Madan Sara is particularly like your mother. Could you talk more about what does Madan Sara mean?
Madan Sara is a network of women who goes from places to places to distribute goods around the country. They are primarily bringing food from the countryside to the big cities. Um, they are like the motor. They are the engine that run the economy. Haiti's economy is very informal, and Madan Sara is a big part of it. It's a big part of the sector. I wanted to create something. I wanted to tell the story of Madan Sara because of personal connection with the business practice, but also I wanted to tell a larger story about like the struggles in Haiti for business women, but also the bigger social issues that we're facing as a society. I think we managed to do, we did a good job, I think, because of the all the positive feedback. Yeah, this is what Manasara is about.
I'm curious, what does the word Madan Sara, like the actual word of it, mean?
No, I will. I think the first of all, I have to say, nobody's really know, but the doing my research in 2015, and I was writing an article. One of the origin that makes the most sense to me, it was Madan is the name of a bird. Is a bird that goes to from places to places, like uh like the actual Madan Sara. And it's a very like noisy bird. So like you can see in the film, it's a very noisy movie because I spent a lot of time at the markets with the Madan Sara. But one of the fact about the bird is like when that bird goes out to find like food, they always bring back something. This is one of the quality that they share with the Madan Sara. I think this is where the name came from, but I don't think this is gospel. So this is not gospel. I'm open to hear more about other fellow Haitians who might know more about it than I do.
And speaking of fellow Haitians, I think in one of the articles that you wrote about the Madan Saras, I think as you did your research for this film, you mentioned that particularly your mother was Madan Sara. I'm wondering, could you tell us more about her, and when did you, in particular, first hear of her being a Madan Sara and what a Madan Sara even is?
Oh, yeah, the film is inspired by my experience with going to the market with my mom. This is how the whole thing started in the first place. I don't remember how old I was, but I put it on one of my articles. But I was very influenced by my experience with her, by my experience going to the market with her, seeing how hard she was working, seeing how the market was disorganized, how there was a lot of abuses happening. That's why I tried to portray in the film. I think it's a deeply personal film in so many levels for me. But also it's a way to talk about the economic the socioeconomic situation of Haiti, how things difficult, how it is harder for a madrasa to get credit, how it is harder for our society to move forward because of so many issues that we need to resolve, and we still don't have we haven't done that yet.
Going to the film Madan Sara that you directed, produced, and created and made, take us to the project itself. So it took you 5 years to make this entire film, and of course, in that particular film, you included the various stories of Madan Saras that you were able to interview. Tell us more about that process, that 5 year process, and how were you able to meet the Madan Saras in your film?
I met Clotilde, the central character, Clotilde. I met her in 2015 when I used to go to the market to buy vegetables from her. This is how we met. This is how we started. This is how we became friends. So I told her about my plans to like make a documentary about Manasa, and she was kind enough to uh, tell me more about her story and accepted to meet with me and talk on the camera. So it was a long process to have her comfortable and talk to me because we had to build a good relationship and then build trust. But it wasn't very difficult at all. It was a long process, but it was what I needed to be able to tell the story. So it's almost the same thing. How I met Monique, Madame Monique was in the film. Uh, we became friends, and I spent a lot of time with them, and this is how they tell me their story. So the what I did it's I spent a lot of time with them. I listened to them and I figured out what they wanted to share with the world, what story that they wanted to tell, and then I managed to put it together. So this is Manasa is an unscripted documentary. I just follow the story and follow the characters, and this is how we managed to have this final product that we so far we all the feedbacks that we're getting are pretty positive.
Mhm. And I'd like to echo that positive feedback to myself as myself having seen in the film. So I would actually be honest, but prior to hearing about the film that you produced and actually watching Madan Sara, I haven't heard the Madan Sara and the stories of Madan Sara before. And I think I would assume that many of our audiences probably would have not heard of these stories, or maybe are just hearing it for the first time. Now, in regards with this, who are the audiences that you hope this film and its message and the stories of the Madan Saras would reach out to?
The film is primary for the Haitian audience because we there is a lot of hard conversation, hot topics that I touch in the film that we need to talk about. So primarily the film is for Haiti, for Haitian. Um, um, in regard to the foreign audience or foreigners don't know about Madan Sara, it's not surprising. The stories that most in the most part the mainstream media tell about Haiti are very negative. They are focused on clickbait. They are focusing on like what is trending. Yeah, you won't see stories like Manasa in mainstream media. That's very unfortunate, and this is one of the things that we have to fight and change, because we can't allow like helicopter media just came into our country and and pretending like they know a story better, they know our situation better, and they know what to tell the world about us, because the media is very powerful. If you have a media with the reach of like hundreds of millions, and then what you're doing is just telling negative story about the place, negative stories about the nation. It is shameful. I think this is something that we need to fight, and we need to change, because and the best way to fight it is to tell our own stories, and that's what I think I'm trying to do.
And then in particular in your film, what really resounded to me is like the power of Haitian women, that there's power and endurance and resilience. That is something that really resonates with me throughout the whole time that I've watched the film. And then I'm reflecting, so and that conversation, especially in the media portrayal of Haiti, oftentimes people here in the United States or in Europe or like in the West in general, when they look at Haiti, it's often seen through like the Western media. Oftentimes, the images of Haiti come from white Western interlocutors and reporters. So I'm wondering, being a Haitian filmmaker, what is the Haiti that you hope for international audiences watching Madan Sara? What do you hope we will understand or we will come to recognize of what Haiti is?
If you look at my resume, you will see like I work a lot with like Western media, foreign media. It was my bread and butter of trying to tell the story of Haiti, trying to tell the story about what's happening in Haiti. From that being said, if I after like 11 years working as a professional, what I learned the most is what not to do. The way not to tell some type of stories, because I know over the years I had many fights with producers, editors, on what they wanted to do and what I wanted to do. I in most cases I happen to lose, but today I know what not to do. I know how to tell. I can't tell my own stories. Um, what I hope to accomplish is what I hope people can learn from Madan Sara, from the film, is listen to Haitian stories from Haitian sources. Listen to Haitian stories from people who go to Haiti, people who spend time in Haiti, who learn from Haitian, not someone with an idea of Haiti in their head, and then they want to do something about it. They want to create some crazy stories. So I hope people will watch Madan Sara and learn about Haiti, learn about how colorful the markets are, learn about how warm people are, and they will change their mind and learn the things or two. Yes, Haiti is a very difficult. It's a very it's at a very difficult crossroad. There's political crisis, there's an economical crisis in Haiti, but it's so is it every other places. They have their own crisis, they have their own problems. Um, I think the best we can do is offer an alternative narrative to the mainstream narrative about Haiti.
And speaking of those narratives, listening to Haitian stories from Haitian sources, your movie started and ended with an excerpt from the novel Breath, Eyes, Memory by Haitian American author Edwidge Danticat. And that particular book itself speaks to the stories of Haitian women, stories of migration of Haitian women to the United States, the traumas of sexual abuse, and the resistance of Haitian women. Tell us more about your decision to include Dante Cut's work in your film.
I think it was appropriate to find some support support stories that goes along with the Madan Sara struggle, with the Madan Sara network, with the Madan Sara, um, you know, as a resisting part of our economy. Madan Sara is a form of resistance because of, despite neoliberal policies and other problems, they still there fighting. Edwidge Jessica is a friend, is a outstanding author, and I think it was appropriate to include this part of her book, this part of her stories to the Madan Sara stories. And she was kind enough to not only give me an interview but also read the end of the book that we added to the film. So I am glad people watch the film and also are reading it, Jessica.
In addition to like the inclusion of Dante Cut's work, I'm also particularly interested to hear more about the music choices that you included in your movie. And I think I did some bit of quick research that I think the songs coming from the artists R.A.M. and Emeline Michel are part of this genre of music called Misnik Racine. Tell us more about the music choices that you had in Madan Sara.
Madan Sara, I was looking for musics that they sing along when they're traveling. The music that they are enjoy when they are on the road, when they are at the market, when they are living their lives. But at the same time, I wanted to use music um, uh, as like a best way for transition during the film, because in Haiti you don't do anything without the drums, you don't do anything without music. So it's music is deeply rooted to everything that we do in Haiti. So for me it was not only fair to include music, but music racine, which is the soul of Haitian culture. Music racine is what keep the Haitian music alive, keep the culture alive. I think yeah, it was an easy decision, and I think Ram the band, they were very kind enough to let us use the music, and I inviting people to keep listening to Ram, because you will learn a lot and you will understand Haitian culture better if you listen to music like Ram, if you listen to singers like Emily and Michelle.
It's another way of conveying these stories. Definitely, the music for myself as an audience really captivated me throughout the experience of watching your film. Now, you briefly mentioned about the movie also showing the political situation in Haiti, political and also economic situation under neoliberal economic policies. I am wondering, could you give us a brief context on that actual political economic situation? So your film included protests against President Jovenel Moise, and how the Madan Saras are demanding to be recognized by the government, sort of in light of, say, markets being burned, and of the dangerous trek that Madan Saras would have to make from the countryside to get produce and to the markets in the urban areas to sell them. I'm wondering, in addition to a sort of brief insight on the situation, on the political economic situation, did you find yourself having issues in making and releasing this film in Haiti as a result of putting a light to these issues that are happening in the country?
No, I not at all. Into my Not at all. I We made the film, we tell the story, and we we it's my job, and I'm doing it. I'm not really worried about repercussion and about noises. Um, in terms of like neoliberal policies and how they affected Madan Sara 30, 40 years ago. So how the chain of production was Haitian farmers, Madan Sara, and the market. So because of neoliberal policies, because of bad governance, because of corruption, so the chain of production today is some guy or some woman producing the rice in Kansas or somewhere in America or somewhere in India. You have someone who took it, bring it, from a boat, bring it to the port. Someone go from the port, pick it from the port to a storage facility, and then you have the someone we come pick it up to take it to the market. So these policies not only destroyed our national production, they also destroyed the whole supply chain and create more middle person, and makes goods more expensive because it was very simple. It was farmers, Haitian farmers, Madan Sara, and the market. Today, it's a whole bigger chain, which is really unacceptable. I think it's something that, yes, we need to talk about. Yes, we need to mention. Yes, we need to fight because today, what, like in the film, like Monique says, you could have started a business a couple of years ago with, for example, $5, but today you need 25, you need 50, you need way more than that. I think the neoliberal policies affecting Madan Sara is very considerable, and it's very damaging, and it's visible today, not only in our national production and food production, but also in the whole supply chain of how we buy and sell and distribute goods around the country.
And then this film, of course, was at least in the United States was premiered in November 2020. And of course, 2020, 2021, we've seen the COVID-19 pandemic. I am wondering, in addition to these neoliberal policies that are different from policies 30 to 40 years ago in Haiti, how has the pandemic itself exacerbated the situation? And how has it particularly affected the Madan Saras of Haiti right now?
The film came out in Haiti in October, but came out internationally in November. I just wanted to add that. Yeah, Madasa, they are very affected by the pandemic because Haiti's heavily rely on importation. Also, the lack of investment and access to credit is getting worse because there is less and less money, and that is going into the economy. I think this is where Madasa have been affected the most by the pandemic. In terms of like COVID, as in terms of as a pandemic, Haiti is very lucky that we have very limited, with very little damage in terms of COVID. I think we have like 200 or 200 something people dead. Yeah, I think we are very lucky. COVID is not yet, doing greater damage to the country. I hope it stays that way because the situation in Haiti is very complicated, and it's I hope we don't see in Haiti what we're seeing right now happening in Brazil and India and other places.
And you wrote in Envoy magazine in March, I believe, that so talking more about the Madan Saras and your stories, that there is quote the culture of exclusion in Haiti, quote, in terms of at least the experiences that Madan Saras have. And of course, in the film, we've seen the voices of Madan Saras who are advocating for themselves to be recognized by the society, by the government especially. Could you speak more to where did this culture, quote, culture of exclusion, quote, come from? And how did this exclusion, especially of women, became a culture?
I think we have a systemic the violence against women in Haiti is systemic. It is horrible, and I think it's this is one of the reasons like the country is the way it is because we don't not only value women, protect them, but also we are like consistently destroying things that they are trying to build. As a society, we will not move forward if we can't do better, if we can't do better. Like Edwidge mentioned in the film, if we don't value and protect women's investment, women's as see women as equal, we will never be able to move forward. Like for example, with the fire, you can see it's like nothing happened. Like there's no officials who wanted to talk to me in the documentary. Nobody wanted to talk to me in the documentary about what are we doing to stop these fires. So it is a very shameful situation as a society that we have to deal with these issues that affected in my you know in majority women. Um, I think it's a must. We have to do better. I think as a society we have to ask ourselves these tough questions and find a way and find solution to deal with them.
And something in particular stood out in the film is that it mentioned that Haitian women are the majority of the population in the country. And I think going along with the current situation and what Madan Saras have to go through, at least with the people that you interviewed, how do Madan Saras survive and claim their own agency in the face of these bigger sort of societal pressures?
I think the there's a big contradiction. There's a big problem with the way the Manasara network function. Like it's you don't when you're Manasara, you don't have time for anything else other than like keep things running, which is harder for them to organize, to have advocacy groups, to have all this type of thing. I think one of the things we're trying to do with the film is to see how we can build community around these issues, around organizing, because uh, if Manasa are organized, if they demand better, they will definitely get better from the state. Um, I think when you working like 10, 12, 14 hours a day, and then you are the head of the household, like you have to you have you don't have time to for a lot of things. I think it's for us as a society, it's for us, it's up to us as communities to build a system of protection where Manasa can be protected and feel included in everything. So we can't continue treating them like we've been doing for, we can say, like for century, because we have a big problem with like what we call language appetite, because in Haiti, most of the things are happening in French when most people speak only Creole. Like people, Madan Sara, most of them are from the outside of Port-au-Prince. They have less access to education. They have less time they have less time to go to school and stuff like that. So they only speak Creole. So because of that, they have less access to things like credit or banking, because they don't even have a direct way of communication to the people who's running this institution. It's completely unacceptable. And I can say, like, we are destroying ourselves, because we're creating this system where we're not only not investing on what's working, we're not putting any support system for them. So it's like a political suicide in my opinion.
How can change happen within the societal structures of Haiti where
I
society
think
values Haitian, Madan Saras?
I think I am hopeful. There's a possibility we can do something around the film, that we can do something around some of the topics that I try to talk about in the film, that we can have people organize and have people demand better and force the authorities, the governments to do better. I think that this is the only way change will happen. It's when Madan Sara organize and demand better. Um, I don't see any other way around that, and this is the only way I think we will be able to, like, make changes happen.
Mhm. And how can Haitian communities, international, like here in the United States, and allies, those who are in support, um, what can we all do to support and be advocates for the Madan Saras?
An indirect way you can do that is you can support Haitian feminist movements. You can support Haitian feminist organizations. You can, help them with transfer of technology. You can help them financially. You can help them with advocacy. You can amplify their voices. I think these are like these can be like good start because the feminist movement in Haiti is not only growing, but it's more and more mainstream today than it was like 10, 15 years ago. I think this is a good way to like indirectly support Madan Sara, but also for Haitian particular, they can support their family, they can support the Madan Sara, help them make their businesses more efficient, help them growing their businesses in any shape or form that they can. Because I think um, right now it's a very tough time. It's a very difficult time with COVID and everything that's happening in the world.
I'm wondering, are there any particular organizations or Haitian feminist movement circles that you know of that our listeners need to know more about?
I hope soon we can put a list on our website where people can go directly. But on top of my head right now, I think I can say Neges Mawon, I can say Marie Jeanne, I can say Sofa, Danton Feminist. These are a couple of groups of feminist organizations that people can support.
What was the reception of the Madan Saras to your film when it was released?
But the Manasa who were there at the premiere in Port-au-Prince, they had a good time. They enjoyed it. They loved it, and it's a celebration of Manasara. So I'm very happy about how how they're proud to see themselves, how they're proud to see people talk about them, talk about their stories, talk about their struggles. The reception so far is pretty good.
How can our listeners support your film, your work, and where can they watch Madan Sara?
You can go to a website. We actually raise money online to host free public screening in Haiti. If you go to a website to manasafilm.com/support, you can donate to support free public screenings in Haiti. It's very important because we rely on people to support us. Because and Manasa was a self-funded movie, so it's your support that will push us forward. Manasa, we keep hosting online screenings. Manasa is not yet available on any platform for people to see, but we're hoping to do so at a particular time. If you keep on visiting manasarafilm.com/screenings, we will keep on posting all our upcoming screenings for the months of May, June. So you can stay up to date on where to watch Madan Sara. And you can follow us on Instagram, at Madan Sara Film. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Madan Sara Haiti.
And all of this to our listeners will be on WHRB.org. We will have the link to your website, the link to where people could know more about the screenings and all the social media handles of Madan Sara. This would all be also in our website where we would have our interview and our conversation. What future projects are you currently working on or envisioning, and how can our listeners follow more of your work, Mr. Dupain?
I'm currently producing a documentary about Haiti, about the fight against corruption and impunity in Haiti. I'm currently working on it. People can stay tuned. They will hear from me soon. You can follow me on social media. You can find my name, Etant Dupain, and when it's ready, you will hear from me.
Myself, and I'm sure our listeners, after hearing our conversation, we are all looking forward to seeing more of your work. I have had the honor of seeing Madan Sara, and I hope that our listeners would also be able to watch your film too as well. And for myself, who's not aware of the story beforehand, I think it is something that we should all care about. with that, Mr. Dupain, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me, and to our audiences here at Harvard Radio Broadcasting, WHRB Cambridge 95.3 FM.
Thank you for having me.